Welcome to another video by Arizona Baking. Today we're going to be making a baked sweet potato bread. This is one of my favorite sweet potato breads. I'm going to be making it today in an 8.5 inch bread pan. I also make this in a 9 inch bread pan, which is a little bit better for sandwiches. Put both the ingredients list for the 8.5 inch and the 9 inch in the show notes, so you don't need to worry about converting between one and another. But before we get started, please remember to like and to subscribe. That really does help me out quite a bit. So let's get started. Let's talk a little bit about sweet potatoes. First thing, keep in mind that this recipe uses a baked sweet potato versus a boiled sweet potato. Therefore, you need to remember you need to start with 20 to 25% more weight than you need in the recipe. If you fail to do that, you're going to find yourself short when you're done. I bake my potatoes at 400 Fahrenheit, works out about 205 degrees Celsius. You can go to 450 if you like. You can go down to 350 if that suits your purpose. At the end of the day, what you're looking for is to be able to take a knife and push it all the way through the potato. We're going to mash these and mash them good after we're done. So don't worry about overcooking it. It's not really going to be much of a problem. The other thing is we're going to take the baked potato just as it is. So there's nothing going to be added to it. After you're done baking, simply peel the potato, put it in a bowl, and mash it. And that's all we're going to do. Final thing I want to mention is after you peel the potato, it's going to be extremely hot. I usually start to bake it as soon as I get done with the starter and it's in its resting phase, and then I just put it in my refrigerator and let it sit in there for a few hours as I'm letting the starter finish its ferment. By that time, everything's cooled down and it's ready to go. So without any further ado, let's get cranking. Putting together the sponge today for our sweet potato bread. I've already measured 117 grams of unbleached all-purpose flour into the bowl. To this, I'm going to add 8/10 or 0.8 grams of instant yeast. This works out to about a quarter teaspoon or so. In addition to that, adding 13 grams of just a light honey for a little bit of sweetening in this bread, as well as 132 grams of water. Works out to about 113% or so hydration for the sponge. It's fairly wet, as you can imagine, but it works out pretty good for this mixture. So let's add our yeast in first, zero our scale, and add the 13 grams of honey. A little more than 13, that'll work out okay. Honey works out about 20%. Water, put 2 extra grams of honey, or 2 or 3 extra grams of honey in, you're well under a gram of water extra. We'll zero that out and add our 132 grams of water. Try to be a lot more careful with this. There we go. Very good. All right, let's move the scale and we'll mix this together. I'm just going to mix this until it gets thoroughly mixed. It's going to, I said, it's about 113 or 14% hydration, so it's going to be pretty fluid. Let's mix that together for a minute, maybe 2. It's
going to sit for, well, I'm going to let this sit for 4 hours. Develop itself. Should be bubbling pretty good by the time we're done. And then we'll add to the rest of the mixture for the bread and we'll get on our way. Okay, let's just get the size of this knocked down. I'm going to cover this with a little plastic wrap. You can use a shower cap or anything else you got. Works fine. Let's put a little bit of plastic wrap on top of this. There we go. And we're just going to bring our timer. We'll set our timer for 4 hours. Get that started. When that's done, we'll come back and make the rest. Today we're going to make this sweet potato bread using a baked sweet potato. We need about 126 grams of mashed sweet potato at the end of the day. So I'm just going to start with a medium size sweet potato. This weighs about 328 grams. I'm just going to wash this and bake it at about 350 degrees until it's soft on the inside. Then I'll take that out and peel it, take the insides out, mash them up, let that cool, and then we'll add 126 grams of that cooled, cooked, mashed sweet potato to the dough later on. Our sponge has fermented for 4 hours. You can see that it's really bubbling and it's got quite a bit of strength and has more than doubled in volume over that time. It's ready to go. This is our mashed, baked sweet potato. After I finished baking it, I just mashed it up, put it in the refrigerator, and then measured out about 126 grams of the mashed sweet potato for us to use. Also already measured 2.4 grams of instant yeast, as well as 6.6 grams of salt. Also plan to put in about 18.5 grams of butter. I did get this softened to room temperature, so I don't have to throw it in a microwave, as I so often do. Already in the bowl, I put 180 grams of all-purpose unbleached flour, as well as 20 grams of non-fat dry milk. You can use full-fat dry milk as well, but I find that this works pretty slick. So we're just going to combine all the ingredients. We're going to mix this together, and then we're going to let it sit and get going to the next stage. So let's just start to mix our dry ingredients together first. And put the yeast in and mix that together. Again, this is not absolutely necessary. I just started doing this when I started baking bread, and I just kept it up. Now, I always just add the salt in immediately. I know some folks don't like to do it that way. That's fine. But greater scheme of things, I don't think it really hurts anything. All right, get that mixed together. All right, so now let's add all of the sponge that we had. And this is just going to be wonderful. Look at that. All right. Okay, that's good. And now we're just going to take our mashed potato. We mix a little bit of that in here like this. Finally, we'll just take the little bit of butter that we've got in our bowl scraper, put that in, set that aside. Now, again, I use a bowl scraper. You guys can use whatever you'd like. I'm just going to start to mix this into the middle. And it will take a little bit to come together, but it will come together. Okay, let's just get the last little bit of flour. It's around the bottom of the bowl. Incorporated. You can see this is sticking to my hands, but I find this is the fastest way to get this done. Just kind of put this together in a shaggy mess. It doesn't have to be perfect. Okay, we are. My hands on. See, basically everything is now picked up, and this has got no structure to it at all. It just breaks up immediately. So we're going to cover our bowl with a wet tea towel, and we're going to set our timer for an hour, and we're going to let her sit, and then come back, and we're going to knead this. So let's just cover that. Set our timer for 1 hour, get that started, and clean up and wait for the magic to happen. Okay, it's been an hour. Let's have a look to see what we got here. Well, it looks good. Let's take this out. And let's put a little bit of bench flour on. I'm not going to need a whole lot, I don't think. So let's have a look. Let's move this over here. Get this out of the way. And see what this is going to take to knead. Still a little on the crumbly side. Not too bad. Let's see what we're going to do. Oh, yeah. I guess it's going to work out pretty slick. So let's just start the timer and see what it takes. I'd say, you know, little pieces of the potato we're still going to have to knead in there, but that's certainly workable. All right, let's get this started, just so we can keep track of what we're doing. And I think that's readable. Let's have a little bit more bench flour there. So we're just kind of putting a whisper of flour on, not a lot. We're not looking actually to add flour. We're just looking to try to get the surface less sticky. All right, we're a little over 5 minutes in. Let's have a look, see how we're doing. Yep, see, it's breaking up a little bit, but it's a lot better than it was 5 minutes ago. It's feeling really good. It's nice and soft. It's a little bit on the tacky side, but not too bad. Okay, we're at 10 minutes. Let's see how we're doing here. Oh yeah, much better. Look at that. Tears a little bit, but it's doing pretty darn well. I think that's probably good for what we're looking for here for this cup of bread. All right, let's get a bulk fermentation container and get into the next step. I use a 3 liter, it's about a 3-quart bulk fermentation container. It's just an old food storage container. I spray a little bit of olive oil. This is just straight olive oil. It's not extra virgin olive oil. Works really good. I just spray a little bit on the inside just to give it a little bit of lubrication, sure nothing sticks. Now, set this down. We're just going to put this in, spread that around. We're going to look to have this double in size. So, we're pretty slick. So let's put the top on. It's currently just under 70 Fahrenheit here in house today, so this may take a few hours to bulk up, but we're in no rush. So we'll just set it aside, be back when it's done. It's about doubled in volume. So let's take this out, do a little pre-shape on it, let it rest for 10 minutes, and then we'll do a final shape, put it in the pan, be ready to go. So for a pre-shape on this, we're just going to make it into a little ball. Nothing too fancy. All right, let's let that sit for a few minutes. In the meantime, we're just going to prepare this 8.5 inch bread pan. Just going to pair it with a little vegetable shortening. Alright, there we go. It works. Set the timer for 10 minutes. Let that rest and do the final shape and let it start to proof. Okay, it's been 10 minutes. Let's get this formed. Alright, let's take that off. Okay, I'll flip this upside down. Make a little triangle using fingertips. Right. Fold that halfway in. Take this, fold that back into the middle as well. Just take your fingers, just kind of go down the middle like that, and take the bottom, just flare this out a little bit. And take the top, fold it down about halfway, and take your thumbs underneath, push, and roll. Create a little bit of tension on the surface, and then leave the seam at the bottom. And just clean up the edges a little bit. Get that a little bit more even. There we go. Put that here. Take a piece of plastic I oiled on the bottom. Just cover that. And then let that sit for probably an hour and a half to 2 hours. In the meantime, we'll get the oven preheated to about 450 degrees and put a steam pan in and be ready to go. Okay, it's time for the bake. You can tell by just push your finger in, see it doesn't really fill real quick. So let's move this over to the oven and get her going. Okay, I'll put that in here. Preheated, had a cup of water on my plate. Let's let that bake for 15 minutes at 450 and we'll turn it down. Right, I'll be back. Alright, so we're at. Looks good. 203 inside. Time to declare victory. Looks good. Sounds good. Just set that there, let it cool, and I'm going to slice it open.